and welcome back to Rue's Life. It's an absolutely beautiful day here and we're already, a quarter of a way through May? So I'm going to give you a tour of the plot and the polytunnel. I've got lots of things doing really well. I'm a little bit behind with some things, but I am slowly catching up. And there's a few things that aren't doing so well. So the things that aren't doing so well are mainly down to my good old nemesis, the slug. And so I used my nematodes because I'd got them obviously and they were ready, and I really wanted to get on with planting out some of the flowers into the flower bed that I'm making. So not the wildflower meadow but the cottage flower bed. And I was kind of in two minds as to whether to get them out or not, but the date on my nematodes was coming to expiry. So once they arrive, you pop them in the fridge and they do have a date that you have to use them by. So because last year when I tried to get hold of them, they were on a real big back order, and I ended up waiting way too long for them to arrive, and I lost a lot of my early plants, particularly my squash. And so this year I thought, you know what, I'm going to get ahead of the game, and I ordered them early, expecting them to not come as quickly as they did. So they arrived earlier than I anticipated, and they had a shorter life on them than I anticipated. So rather than, just waste them, I thought, well, I'll use them. So I popped them, I used them as per the directions. I think I mentioned it in one of my previous videos. But they take up to 24, They take up to 21 days to become active, fully active. And you do really need the soil temperatures to be above 3 degrees Celsius permanently. So a combination of, I hadn't really given it the 21 days, and typically, although the soil temperatures had been warmer, for about 4 or 5 nights during a period of about 7 to 10 days, the temperatures did drop below 3, and we even had a couple of frosts. So a combination of those things, and I just don't think they were activated. So cutting a very long story short, I had ordered some more nematodes and they're here, and I'm just going to use those. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to get that done, and that's going to help. That's going to help with the problem. So a lot of the flowers that are put out, that things like marigolds, the slugs love them, don't they? So they have pretty much munched their way through them. But not to worry, they were just seeds. I've got some more of those seeds, so I'm going to do a second sowing of those. Some of them are okay, some of them are holding on in there, and I have got, which I think I showed you in the previous video, I'd just sown 5 trays which have all germinated now, so I'll show you those of flowers ready for that bed. So essentially I need to re-sow cornflower, Canterbury bell, marigolds and larkspur. They're the ones I've lost. The rest I've lost a couple of them, but most of them are hanging on in there. So that is the flower bed. I also need to re-sow my cucumber because they actually germinated, but they've rotted off. So I've obviously been, they've been a little bit too damp. I've actually moved things around a little bit in the polytunnel because there are areas that tend to get more shade, and of course they stay wetter. So I think the cucumbers needed to just be moved across a little bit. The squash, the varieties I've sown, only one variety has germinated, and I will show you that. So I'm going to re-sow some of those. And I'm also going to sow some beetroot, some turnip, and I'm going to start off my parsnip. So they're the plans. But let's get this camera spun around and let's show you what's going on out there in this beautiful, beautiful sunshine. So we'll start out here by the shed, and I'll just show you these hanging baskets of the little geranium, the trailing geraniums that I got from Lidl, and they're bedding in nicely. And in fact, if we come back over to these ones, we're already starting to get some little flowers, so that's great. And then just round the corner in the shade. These ones are looking fine. So let's start outside and then we'll go into the polytunnel. So here in the new flower bed, the allium at this end and the alliums at the far end are doing absolutely fine. The Rudbeckia, which is here, is absolutely loving being, out of the pot and into the ground. And then you can just about see there's a couple of clumps of various of the flowers, and I've also got the cranes bill in the corner there, the geranium. So we've got a few bits and bobs, but I have lost a few. But as I've said, not to worry, I will get some more on the go. We'll get the nematodes in, and I think this time I'm going to get them into more established plants before they go into the ground. So then moving on, obviously nothing yet in the squash bed, so we will just pass the squash bed, and then we're going to come along the path and we'll start at the end of the empty bed, which has just got a few, just mind my shadow, move across here, there we are. We'll start at this empty bed. So these are just self-seeded Californian poppy, which I'm continuing to weed out, and a few other little weeds, but that bed is empty and ready. The chives, as you can see here, let's get a little bit closer, they are doing absolutely brilliantly. Really, really pleased with those, super tasty. And then the onions, trying to film without my shadow. So you can see these onions are looking absolutely fantastic, as is the celery here. So you can see it's looking absolutely great. The brassicas have taken a bit of a slug battering, so these are the cauliflower all the year round, and then there was just those two purple sprouting broccoli, and again they've taken a real hit with the slugs. So I'm going to top up these beer traps with fresh. I'm going to put some more beer traps in, but more importantly I'm going to get the next batch of nematodes in, and I am going to sit tight before I plant anything else out into the ground. I'm going to just keep potting things on and growing them on in the polytunnel. The fruit bed, so I think in one of my last videos I talked about finally getting this bed weeded, which I have done, and the strawberries and the raspberries are super grateful and they're all looking absolutely great. And let's go and have a look at the rhubarb and then we'll hop into the polytunnel. So this rhubarb, as you can see, is doing absolutely brilliantly. I'm going to pick a bit off that, which we will probably have in a crumble for tea tonight. And then let's hop into the polytunnel. So the wildflowers are still in the polytunnel. I've been absolutely flat out with work, and we've had a few other commitments. So I have just been making sure that they're really, really well watered. And if you watched my previous video, I was a little bit concerned that some of them were yellowing off and I was going to lose some, but I've just kept them really well watered, given them a little feed, and they're doing really, really well. And I actually think that because they have become such established plants, it's really going to give them a chance when I get them into the ground. Chris has already made a start, bless him, helping me at starting with the bulb planter to make some holes, and I'm going to just pick up some peat-free compost, which I'm going to use to help start them off. So that's this week's project, along with a couple of other little jobs. And then moving along here, so here on the staging I have got several pots of purple sprouting broccoli. These are the Bellotto beans, which are looking great, but something has popped in the polytunnel and given them a little chomp, but they're not looking too bad at all. The only one of these skunk pole beans from Ali is looking really, really healthy. So I think I had 2 seeds, one has germinated and it's looking great. So I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit of a Jack and the Beanstalk moment with that one. I'm going to actually lift the camera up rather than keep bringing the plants to you, so bear with me. So the seeds we've got here are Zinnia, Livingston Daisy, Lupin, Sweet William and Snapdragon, and I've got some really good germination on all of those. I've got some great germination on these leek here. Across there of the 1, 2, 3, 4 variety of squash at the moment, I've just got the scallop yellow bush, which have germinated. Nothing on the Yukikikiri, nothing on the butternut, and nothing on the crown prince yet. The digitalis, the foxglove, has finally decided to germinate. We've got some peppers there. I've got 2 courgettes which have germinated, and 2 courgette plants, to be honest with you. If I pop those on, should be ample. There's some celeriac in the corner, which is looking great. Oh, the tomatoes, I will just pop you down for a minute, because from my one lowly tomato germination, so I've actually got, I don't know if you can see that, 1, 2, 3 in this pot, and these ones are really starting to look quite healthy. So there's 4 of those, and those are the money maker. Let's pop those back over there. They clearly like it in that corner. And then we have also got loads of brassicas. So these are cabbage. I can't remember all the varieties. So we've got cabbage greyhound and cabbage golden acre. I think these are more cabbage. Yes, they are. Then I've got these are all little purple sprouting broccoli. I've given quite a few away today, which is great. Over here, let's pop you down. Move this pots out of your way. There we are. Let's move these pots. So here I've got some sunflowers. These are more cabbage greyhound. We've got cabbage golden acre. There's some dahlia which have actually germinated. We have got some sprouts which are Evesham special, and we've got purple sprouting broccoli. So they're all doing really well. And then across in the next bed, just in pots, I've literally just in the last hour potted on some more sprouts. They were really crammed up together, so I've pricked those out and potted those seedlings on, which is why they're looking a bit droopy. So they should bounce back by tomorrow. And then in this bed, the big long bed, so we've got the carrots that had been overwintered, and they are sort of putting on a bit of a spurt on the foliage, and not a huge amount going on under the ground. Very similar to what the turnips did, and it's simply because I didn't water them enough over the winter months. So normally I slowly grow some root vegetables in the polytunnel over winter, but I do pop out and water regularly, and I just didn't do that. So now that they're being watered, and of course it's nice and warm and there's plenty of sunshine, the tops are growing, but the root underneath isn't. So the turnip I pulled up, they were over in the gap here, and gave them to the chickens. I may end up doing the same with these carrots, but I'll give them a little bit longer. There's a little Californian poppy there, self-seeded. But what is good is if I just move the camera around, the carrots that I sowed down here, there's some really good germination on those. They are the Paris Market Atlas, and then some more carrots and a very nice self-seeded stinging nettle. So we've got a little bit of germination on some carrots over here as well. In this hanging shelf I've still got, and these are desperate to get into the ground, so these are some more of the cauliflower all the year round, and I have given some away, and if these stay in these pots much longer they're going to die, so they either need to be given away or planted out or potted on into bigger pots. And then in here I've got 2 pots that I've just about 3-4 days ago I've popped in some thank you very much to the lovely Jane Kelly. I've got some Madeira maroon beans, and I have some Gigantes beans, which I am so excited about, so thank you so much, Jane. So I'm crossing everything that I'm going to get some germination and some success with those, and I have got quite an exciting plan for my beans this year, which I will be sharing with you in a couple of videos down the line, so keep watching. These are some dwarf kale that are ready to be pricked out and potted on. Some more cabbage. I've gone a bit nuts with the brassicas this year. I was so successful last year, I've gone bananas. More sprouts, more kale. So some of these need pricking out and potting on, and some of them either need to go into bigger pots or into the ground. I have popped, let me just balance you. The peas that were in the pots are now in this tub, and I've popped some hazel sticks for them to climb up, and they're looking really, really healthy. The onions here, we're actually eating these because they're starting to bolt, so they're still quite small but they're very tasty. They were the Red Baron, which were never really intended to be grown in the polytunnel, and now it's warm they are bolting a little bit, so we're just pulling them up as and when and eating those. And the leek are coming along really nicely, so they'll be ready to go out soon into one of the outside beds. And then finally in this corner, the spinach, which again is trying to bolt a little bit, as is the chard, but again they've been in here over the winter slowly growing, so you know, it's no coincidence that everything in this bed that I left over winter that's been successful in the past has all tried to bolt or not done so well this year, and it's simply because I didn't give them enough water through the winter. So lesson learned. So I'm going to sow some more chard and some more spinach. So it's absolutely glorious, as I've said. I'm just looking across. It's 22.5 degrees outside, and it is 42.5 degrees here in the polytunnel. It's really, really warm. So I will be, over the next coming days, getting out my solar powered fan and popping it at the end of the polytunnel just to keep some airflow coming through and just cool things down a little bit. And this year I'm actually going to also invest in some shade netting, because the temperatures in here get a little bit too hot for some of these plants, and it can slow them down or affect you know, how well they do. So I'm going to get some shade netting, I'll get that fan going, and of course when I water I also drench the floor, and that helps to cool the atmosphere in here as well. So I'm going to end this video here before I completely melt. I'm going to go and get myself a cold drink, and then I'm going to potter, but I'm going to potter outside, not here in the polytunnel, because it's just too warm. So I really hope that you're getting some of this beautiful sunshine wherever you are. I hope you're well. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new to my channel, please do consider subscribing and hit that bell so you'll get notifications of all my latest videos. But for now, take care, and I'll see you all again soon.